his foul shots, cool. But, he didn't look like, the player that we all thought it was. I know, so I would give Doc Rivers 50% of the blame and the other 50 to the players and stuff like that, and development staff, the development staff and all of that. So I'll give most 50% of it to the players because they're the ones playing out on the court. They're the ones playing, or giving it their effort. Doc Rivers is just the guy coaching them and putting them in position to make plays. Like they had the Celtics scored 20 points in the third quarter, even more than that. It was game over by third quarter, and I was just sitting there I think this doesn't look good for the Sixers because all they're doing is shooting wide open shots. They're not really trying to make plays on defense they used to do, during the season. It's just all these guys are shooting wide open shots. I'm like, there's something wrong. There's some miscommunication with the Sixers, whether it's the head coach, the players, and I think that maybe with Doc Rivers leaving, I mean, I could say maybe if they go after that Raptors head coach, the Toronto Raptors,
Nick Nurse.
Yeah, Nick Nurse, him, I think that they could be in a better position because he won the NBA Finals a couple years ago, or made it to the NBA Finals, and I think that if we get Nick Nurse, I feel like it's gonna be better. But we also gotta understand if they're giving up on Nick Nurse too, and they're running through the same issues with Doc Rivers, you might as well could get one of the greatest basketball coaches of all time, and it probably still won't work. So we'll definitely see what happens, who's going to replace Doc Rivers, and what they're going to bring to the 76ers.
Yeah, bringing to the 76ers, I'm curious whoever does join us, I'm wondering what team he actually is joining. I mean, just before this podcast, I was kind of scrolling through my news feed, and there's a headline that says that there's rumblings about Embiid going to the Knicks, which I was like, wow. To play with Jalen Brunson, that'd be pretty wicked, man. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's more likely that Harden leaves, although with Rivers out of the picture, maybe Harden stays. Who knows? I don't really know. I don't think the problem. I think a big part of the problem is Doc because he is the on the ground, in the trenches chemistry maker for the team. But I think if you kind of go a few layers back up the ladder, there's the GM, the president, whoever, the owners, they definitely should be shouldering a lot of the responsibility. I think they knew they screwed up. I think they knew, well, I don't know what they knew, but I think everybody thought the Sixers were going to go farther. And I feel like the same old excuse just gets recycled. Joel Embiid's never 100%. And people are like, Harden's hot and cold. And so they just keep going through the same old excuses. I think Sixer fans are tired. I think they were calling for somebody's head. I think it's Doc Rivers whose head got served up. But I don't really see it being, I don't know. We'll see.
Definitely. So I know, you're just saying about, injuries and stuff with Joel Embiid. The problem is, everyone wants to say, oh, yeah, this is the reason why we're not going far in the playoffs. But also is that, where's the depth? We've had great depth all year. Last couple games of the season, we were playing great. So we knew, I felt like maybe if Joel Embiid goes down, maybe some of the younger players, they might not play, the same level as Joel Embiid does. But, I mean, they could at least maybe help us, win some games. But, that I think that's part of the problem is that they might need to add more depth for just in case if Joel Embiid gets injured again because he's very untrustable during the playoffs. He's always getting injured, and then once the Celtics came, all the Celtics games, he didn't look 100%.
No,
and we all knew by he's missing he missed a layup. He's missing layups. He's missing 3-point shots, and he makes all the shots, and then all of a sudden he's not making anything, and then I also heard Stephen A. Smith say this. He said, with how bad James Harden played, that he might not even want to walk in the streets of Philadelphia. He might as well have to shave off his beard and hide his identity because it's not going to be good if they find him on the streets of Philadelphia. And that was according to Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah. Philadelphian sports beat writer from back in the day, Philadelphia Inquirer, Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, he's funny. He tells it like it is. He was also saying on that same show that you were referring to with J.J. Redick that Stephen A. Smith had talked to Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart was darn near tears at the Celtics victory and the Sixers loss. And Stephen A. Smith said he brought it up because his reaction, Hart's reaction, is emblematic of all Sixer fans everywhere. It's just enough is enough. We trusted in the process for 8 years or 10 years, whatever it's been now, and it's yielded nothing past getting slammed in the second round of the Eastern Conference. We never make it to the finals. We haven't, or the conference finals. We haven't since 2001, and Sixer fans are just ready for something more. And I think even the players on the team are like Embiid. I can't even imagine the pressure that he must shoulder, knowing that the expectations are so high, and he's the main dude in charge, player wise, is the main guy in charge of delivering on those expectations. And I'll tell you, it looked like him and Harden always looks like he folds under pressure, but Embiid just as much, and they criticized Simmons for that. They ran him out of the city for that. But, and I'm not drawing parallels between the caliber of player that Embiid is and Simmons is. I mean, obviously they're at this point, especially they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. But when it comes down to it, Game 7, Game 6, those were two elimination games that the Sixers were playing against the Celtics. They could have gotten the Celtics out, and they folded like a house of cards. But
I want to say this one thing. So also, since we just brought up Ben Simmons, so after when the Sixers lost the series, Ben Simmons obviously got on his trolling a little bit.
Yep.
He wanted to rub it into the Sixers players, maybe / fans, whatever. He was on his couch, which everyone expects. They always make the joke, once they lose in playoffs, they go home, sit on the couch, watch the rest of it. He did exactly all that, but he drank like red wine or something and was like, cheers to that pretty much. And then Stephen A. Smith also brought it up too. Like, he wasn't like impressed by the way how he acted because, I think it's just like the player he is. Like, maybe if it was like LeBron James or something doing that, I think more people would have find it more funnier. But, because he's a good player and, if he wants to troll a little bit, he gets away with it. But once Ben Simmons does, the guy who, missed the cut, a lot of games, who doesn't give a lot of effort, it's hard to find this dude kind of funny. But I mean, I think he wanted to just rub it into the, Sixers.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's his former team, and he just got ran out of the city a little over a year ago. So I think that he just wanted to rub it back in their face. So I'm not, mad that he did it at all. I don't have a problem with it. I was just saying is that, more people don't find it funny. If it was maybe if it was like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, any of those guys did it, or even Joe Embiid, it would be a whole different story.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, whatever. Let Ben Simmons have his moment. Like I said, he definitely went through it, getting out of the city, and continues to go through it with the Nets to this day. I mean, the Nets don't know what to do with his behind. But let's move on to football.